Welcome everybody back to the Colgate Cross Country Recap. Last week we had the Patriot League Championships on our home course, October 31st. The men's team came in 9th and the women's team came in 10th. We had pretty good conditions for the race. It was about 50 degrees, very little wind. Course was pretty firm, so as a result the times were actually pretty quick. Our course is typically what you would call a traditional course, a little bit slower. Really over hill and dale, steep downhills, uphills, tight turns. It's a true cross-country course. Usually the times are a little bit slow as a result of that. But this year, while there was a bit of a slowdown compared to like your typical Paul Short, flatter cross-country course, it was a little bit slower, but not as much as it has been in the past. Both the men's and women's team, as we entered the championship phase of our season, we've taken a little bit easier with the training, a little less intensity, a little less volume add intensity. And as a result, the legs are feeling a little bit fresher. Folks are feeling like they can run a little bit quicker now. As we decrease the volume on the training, a lot of times people feel pretty fresh, which can be good and bad. Sometimes it'll mean people will get out a little bit quicker for the first mile than what they had anticipated and sometimes get into trouble that way. But on the whole, if people run intelligently, usually we can run pretty quick during this phase of our season. So the women were 10th and the men were 9th. Pretty good performances. You'd look at the results and say, well, the women were last, the men were second to last. Yeah, that is true. But when you compare how far back we were last year to this year, it was kind of a heartbreaker. We were only 8 points out of 9th on the women's end. And on the men's end, we ran into some unfortunate injury issues where we weren't able to return or use our top returner from last year. So that made things a little bit difficult for us, not to take anything away from anybody else. I'm sure other teams had to deal with injuries also. It's just it's always tough when you're not quite 100% and you got to put out a product that you know you could be a little bit better. But with that said, the women's team did do very well. We had a lot of folks on the women's team actually run PRs despite being on our home course, which is usually a bit slower than a typical course. For some reference, I mean, you can look back at the Paul Short meet where Lafayette had 5 girls in before our top runner, and that's just a butt kicking. I mean, they just really put it to us on that day. And then, you know, moving forward to the Harry Lang course at the Patriot League Championship that we just had, we were right there with them, neck and neck. I think we had our 3rd runner in before they had their 3rd runner in. But they were able to outpoint us in the 1 and 2 spot, and that proved to be the difference. You know, that 8-point margin, it's tough to get to sleep the night after that. But hats off to them. They really did a great job, and I know they were battling through some injury issues too, so great job over there. Caroline Falvey was our #1 runner this weekend. She ran 23:16, which was a huge PR for her. And with her injury issues in the past, it's been kind of a continuing puzzle, just trying to figure out the best way for her to stay healthy and contribute to the program and represent Colgate University positively. Probably the best performance on the women's end was Becca Easley. She ran a PR and went 23 mid, 23:33, I think, to be precise. For her to do that on our course, that's pretty encouraging. And as we look forward to Franklin Park at the regional meet, 2 weekends from now, hopefully we'll be able to put up some good performances and some good times so that the girls can get some nice PRs out of that. On the men's end, sophomore Watson Hanson was our #1 runner. He ran a pretty good time, 26:20. He'd been dealing with some injury issues also, but we were able to kind of nix that and keep him healthy for this meet anyway. And he was able to put together a pretty gutsy performance. Once again, Cody Hawkins really came through and had an awesome performance for us this weekend. He ran 26:40, which is about 19 seconds off his PR, but in general, our course usually runs about 40 seconds slower than a typical, you know, quick cross-country course. So for him to be only off by 20 seconds, I think that was a pretty good performance for him. Our next race is the Northeast Regional, which will be at Franklin Park in Boston. That's a fun course, and it's really a storied course, and hopefully the guys and girls can run well there. Thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.